When you were 27, 28, you said you had a 2-week free sample of enlightenment. And I also heard you describe enlightenment as this whole neurobiological transformation that we have to go to. And, you got to experience and get a taste of it. And I was wondering, for people that say like, oh, my goal in this life is to be enlightened, maybe a lot of people on the spiritual path, and even getting a taste of it is, I also heard you say that, you'll try anything to reach enlightenment. I know you said that jokingly, but in hindsight, is there a place where you would draw the line, where it just becomes like too much, or is it just like full on, this is the path?
Well, I mean, I definitely wouldn't do anything that hurts somebody else, because how unenlightened can you get, But in the context of, if it's just me who has to suffer to get to enlightenment, I'm in. Like, I'll do whatever, I'll walk through any fire, I'll go through any storm. And I think we need that tenacity to reach it, because the ego is so committed to its thought system and dominating our mind with its thought system, that if we don't meet it with at least equal force, we have no chance of truly transcending it, because it's working night and day, 24/7, to kidnap your attention at all times. And so if you don't meet it with the same level of intentionality and discipline and devotion to being free, it's going to keep kidnapping your attention and making you identify with it and all of that. So the suffering is the evolutionary driving force that gets us all to that point where we're like, nothing matters more to me than my inner peace of mind. And so I will do whatever it takes to earn it. And then we go through the mind purification process that's necessary for enlightenment. And that was what I didn't have at 27 when I had that, free sample experience of enlightenment. I had not done the preliminary work to purify my mind, my nervous system. And so eventually those programs came back online and spiraled back up into the mind and started working again. And I was cast from heaven, as it were, or at least as it felt. And that brought a whole bunch more guilt with it, because it was like, hey, you were permitted entry into the kingdom of heaven, and then you were analyzed and found unworthy and kicked out of heaven.
Did you feel unworthy at that point?
Oh yeah, man. Huh. Like you can't even imagine that level of unworthiness. I literally spent 2 full weeks in an unbroken state of God intoxication and bliss. And then all of a sudden, within a day, my ego had come back online completely and dragged me back down into that pit of hell, where it was just me in a small prison cell with the ego, chirping away in my mind, being like, you were kicked out of heaven. You weren't worthy of it. You didn't deserve it. God found you lacking and booted you out. And I'm just like, how do I argue with that? And that's what happened. But it was because I hadn't done the inner purification to sustain that state on a permanent basis. And that's why I'm so passionate about teaching about Kundalini Awakening now, because Kundalini is sexual energy, first of all, that we move higher up the spine as we preserve it and let it build up and accumulate. And we use it for spiritual purposes, meditation, breath work, prayer, devotion. We do these things that calls the sexual energy up the spine through the energy centers. And the closer it gets to reaching that third eye, the closer we are to becoming a fourth density being, at least as far as our nervous system is considered, because it's upgrading our nervous system. Literally, the cells in our body are increasing their capacity to hold energy. So that's why when we have these mystical moments, oneness experiences where we're like, oh, I see it. It's all one. Oh, bliss, divine. And then a minute later, whoop, right back down into, now it's all separate and boring. It's like, why does that happen? Because you maxed out the RPMs on your nervous system's engine. You know what I mean? You didn't have the bandwidth to sustain that high frequency. So your nervous system can do it for like a minute, and then it's like, I'm worn out, back down to ego consciousness, so that you literally have to raise your vibration to sustain those frequencies. And that's what a Kundalini awakening process is It is, as you said, a neurobiological transformation at the cellular level, from a third density vibration to a fourth density vibration, where classically, if you study Kundalini awakenings, you know that once Kundalini reaches the crown, somebody is living from that state of bliss permanently and effortlessly, without any effort on their part. You're just seeing oneness as naturally as you ever saw anything before. And so I'm very passionate about teaching people how this process works and how to initiate that process within yourself.
Yeah. And can someone still operate, quote unquote, normally in the matrix? Let's say, like, if I have a full-on Kundalini awakening and then tomorrow I have to go to work, can I still do that? Am I just going to be in a different state of consciousness, or I have to send in my resignation letter? I'm in bliss, bro. I'm good.
Resignation, bro. You're cooked. No chance. Yeah, it's a great question because in some ways, yes, in some ways, no. A person who's ascended their consciousness to the fourth density level will have no interest in partaking in normal societal things like clubbing, drinking, sex, drugs, rock and roll, all of that. The vain pursuit of pleasure will have no interest to you at all. So you may quit your job if you're working at a nightclub or something, or doing something that's just in direct contrast to your new state. But outside of that, you become much more dynamic and intelligent and powerful and efficient in your daily life from that state of consciousness, because it's a higher state of consciousness. Like in the same way that self-consciousness is very superior to simple animal consciousness. Like animals can't build buildings and create computers. And, there's a huge gap between what a human can do and what an animal can do. There is the same gap between what a third density conscious being can do to what a fourth density being can do. Because when you activate the heart chakra is the energy center that also contains our inner genius and our creativity, that feminine intelligence to create and inspire and have new ideas is the heart chakra. I mean, Albert Einstein talked all about this, that his intelligence was not purely cerebral, but it was like deeply inspired from his heart, from his passion. And so you access, it's called creative genius, but like whatever you're good at, for example, music, art, writing, whatever, you become like a genius at that thing. Like you move into a new category of skill because again, the heart is more intelligent. It perceives deeper layers of reality. It connects the dots of all the relationships of everything that are happening. And that's how you truly understand something, right? Is understanding all the relationships it's engaged in that make it what it is. The heart sees those relationships. And so you just have this ability to like innately understand things. You take up a hobby and you become really good at it like right away. Whereas other new students are struggling to get the basics. You're understanding like first principles inside of your awareness. So everything becomes easier for you. Conversations become easier because you're more still inside and you're able to listen deeper to what someone's really saying. And all these different things make you much more dynamic, whether it's in your career, in your relationships, in your personal life, in your hobbies. The heart chakra enhances everything you do to a very large extent.
Mm. And when talking about the new children that are coming onto the planet right now, in the raw material, they even talked about the dual activated body, where they're coming in with some of that yellow and also the green ray, activating these psychic abilities, living more from the heart. Where do you see the world heading as these newer generations start stepping into that heart-centered consciousness? Everything you just mentioned about the heart, how would the paradigms of the world shift going forward into the future? What do you predict?
Yeah, it's be a bold prediction. I don't really know for sure, but with the way I understand how consciousness evolves, I can make some theories. And beginning with that idea of the dual activated body, what that is beings who are born with an activated heart chakra or active Kundalini. They don't have to go through a Kundalini awakening process because they're born with it already active. And so we can't escape our third density body in this life because you're born as a third density being, physically speaking. But you can upgrade the nervous system to a fourth density level. And that, if enough of us keep doing that, the body quickly has to catch up and match the level of frequency that our nervous system's operating on. And that's how the evolution of consciousness works from every level, is that consciousness perceives new things and the physical body has to adapt to adjust to those new things. And so in the fourth density, for example, the physical body is usually, not always, but usually much taller and much thinner and much more vibrant and bright in its appearance. Like, you can look at your skin, you have a good, nice glow to your skin. You can see my skin.
It's that lighting, bro. It's that lighting.
It's just good lighting, of course. No. But there is a light behind our skin, right? That is somewhat palpable. But if you've seen like Avatar, the movie Avatar, those beings are probably a lot closer to what humans are going to look like in the fourth density over, thousands of years of evolution. As we'll become taller. We're already becoming taller. That's a fact. Less hair, will eventually be hairless. All the primitive animalistic aspects of the body get transcended over time. And we more and more become a light body as time goes on. So a fourth density being would have skin that has a bright glow to it, maybe even radiant to behold, but still skin with a body, but more light in the body. So we're like, when you activate your Kundalini, you're turning on that light body inside of yourself and increasing the vibratory capacity of your cells. Yeah. So as humanity evolves like that, more people awaken their Kundalinis, we will see this huge contrast, I believe, start to happen where everybody who's walking around with an awakened Kundalini will have such a distinct advantage in career, in finance, everything. You're a vastly superior being in all ways, that those beings who are still struggling back in the third density, who haven't awakened yet, will see the contrast of people who have awakened Kundalini, and they'll say, man, it's just, I got to awaken my Kundalini. There's nothing else that's worth my time than this, And so that's the way evolution pretty much always works, right? Is that new adaptations show their superiority. And so more and more of that species wants to gravitate towards the new adaptation until eventually the whole species has that new adaptation and the old has been discarded by evolution. So humanity is doing that right now, but that will continue to increase rapidly over time to where I think we'll get to a point where nobody will be able to deny that there is a higher level of consciousness available and there's a certain way to reach it. And these things we call spiritual, mystical, metaphysical will be like normal science one day that kids are taught in school. Kundalini, astrology, all of this stuff will be basic science at some point. But the fact that these things are still considered like esoteric pseudoscience is just kind of a testament to where our collective level of consciousness is.
Do you have any insight regarding when we talk about the missing link of when, the race was going from Neanderthal, all of a sudden they started appearing in different forms, eventually to what the Homo sapiens sapien. I just got that thought as you were explaining this process of this breakout point. Is that related in some way?
Yes and no. Where I'm fairly convinced that this is the case, based on many channeled works I've read and what our scientific literature shows us, is that there is this really remarkable doubling in brain size over about 200,000 years, I think, which is a feat totally unparalleled in all of nature. Never has been done anywhere close to that. It's a huge mystery to biologists. How did the human brain double in size that fast? Normally over a 200,000 year period, you might see a 10% increase in brain volume and capacity, but doubling, like something anomalous clearly happened. And tons of texts say this. The Law of One says this, that it was actually extraterrestrials who were watching the evolution of the ancient primates and saying, hey, this is a really slow evolution. Let's help them out a bit and add a few changes to their genomic sequence or whatever that will propel the evolution of consciousness forward. And what's interesting is that Ra says what they did was they enhanced the emotional capacity of the primate. And that has some really amazing implications, because by causing primates to be much more emotional, it forces consciousness to awaken in new ways to cope with those emotions. It puts an intense demand on the brain to intellectually cope with those feelings and understand them and give meaning to them. And so it catalyzed those ancient primates to becoming self-aware very quickly. Because when you're aware of what you feel inside, you're looking inside a lot. Who am I? What am I feeling? I feel. And all of a sudden, who am I is born. So the interesting thing is, I watched a guy, was an archaeologist or a paleontologist. I believe it was on Rogan. I could be wrong. But he was talking about this amazing discovery in the some region in Africa where they discovered where a lot of ancient primates, Neanderthals, Homo erectus, whatever, where they were living. There's lots of remains, skeletal remains. And they say when you go through the layers in the geology of the soil, you have like primitive hunter-gatherers, ancient Neanderthal-looking beings, and then the next layer above, you have pottery, art, use of tools.
Let's go Göbekli Tepe.
Yes, thank you. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. And so you're like, how do you explain that? How do you get this monumental leap in intelligence that quickly? And to me, I can only say it must have been a outside force, contributing to that evolution in some way. Because I don't know, outside of Terence McKenna's theory about
the stoned ape,
the stoned ape theory, outside of that one, I don't know any other plausible theory that could account for that.
I see. Yeah. And right now, we are sort of, even I'm a student of the gene keys as well. So how our DNA is shifting. Keys. Yeah. How it's shifting right now. I can imagine, we mentioned the nervous system a lot in this segment. I'm curious to know, what are you practicing in to prepare the nervous system for what's coming?
So what I teach in 40 University we have a curriculum of 3 programs that take 7 months to complete. And the third program is 3 months long, and it's called 4DAP, which stands for Fourth Density Ascension Protocol. And it's basically like a combination of all the different teachings that I myself have used over my 10-year journey of Kundalini Awakening, and things like Kriya Yoga, different basic Kundalini yoga practices like bandhas and mudras and breathwork, pranayama. But it's all very like nervous system stimulating. And then we combine that with, we do a breathwork practice with a 20-minute deep meditation. And then there's other teachings as well about like understanding what Kundalini is, how to notice when it's awakening more and more. And there's many very telling signs that Kundalini is active or becoming more active in the nervous system. There's even some supplements you can take that will help a little bit. But it's basically getting in touch with your Kundalini energy, what it feels like. And once this process sets off, man, it's really amazing, because you're just an observer of the process, where you're watching Shakti or Kundalini making her way through your nervous system however she pleases. And the only thing you can really do is you can, ask her to slow down a bit, or you can do things to tell her to put her foot on the gas a bit. And so we call that self-pacing in 40U, of like, if you're getting way too many Kundalini symptoms and it's kind of ruining your life at this point, there's things you can do to self-pace and calm that energy down a bit. But I kind of tell people like, hey, you're going through a very sacred, divine transfiguration process. So you probably don't want to interfere with it too much. If you're doing a lot of breath work and Kundalini practices that are stimulating it, you can definitely stop doing those and just let it take its natural course. But I don't really recommend anyone do like really intense grounding practices that will quell Kundalini, like eating a high calorie diet, Doing really intense exercise will calm her down. Unless you are just at that breaking point of like, I can't handle this anymore. It's too much is coming up, too much to synthesize. I need some space here. Then I'll say, all right, eat 3,000 calories tomorrow. And that's going to help a lot or something like that. So it's a very individualistic journey of everyone's journey is different. Everyone's awakening is different. Some people never even have the inner conjunction happen. You know, the lightning bolt up the spine that is notoriously classified as a Kundalini awakening. That's just a signpost that an awakening is really underway in a huge dynamic way. But you can have a full Kundalini ascension process without having the lightning bolt shooting up your spine. So there's myriad ways you can approach it. And I just find it endlessly beautiful and fulfilling to teach that process to others.
When I was living in California, my mom got into, she had her own awakening, and she eventually got into Kundalini yoga, became a trainer, an instructor in that. So that's always been sort of in my purview. And also when I became a student of Joe Dispenza's work and I started going to some of the retreats, doing that breath practice, at the beginning, I wouldn't feel anything. And now over time, as I start doing that breath, I just it's getting more intense in a way. I can start feeling it way more in the pineal and the brain and the higher centers. Before I'm like, I don't even know if this is going up. Like if the snake is asleep.
You can feel like that.
If someone reacts to this, a lot of people might have the spontaneous awakening where they wake up in the middle of the night shaking or whatever.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah, it happened to you.
Just like that.
And how did you react to it?
Well, I just had to witness the experience because it was unbelievably intense, but also incredibly beautiful and divine. What had happened was I'd been doing my yoga practices for a long time. And interestingly enough, one night I just decided I was going to do 3 rounds of japa chanting with my mala necklace. So you have 108 beads and you do a chant and you move the bead, right? And I used to like doing that, but I was like, I'm going to do 3 rounds of it. And so I did the Hare Shakti, Hare Shakti, Shakti Shakti, Hare Hare, which is kind of like praise Shakti. And I was really connecting as I did it. It took me 30 minutes to do it. I was really connecting with the goddess, Shakti, and really praising her. And I got in this chant altered state, I go downstairs and my wife had made, I believe it was, we had pho that night, I think, and then some cookies or something like that. And what's funny is I found out later through reading a book called Biology of Kundalini that eating a high glycemic meal can really supercharge Kundalini with all the sugar and carbs.
Really? Huh.
And so I think that combination of eating a lot of carbs that night and doing the chanting created the inner conjunction that I had, because I laid down on the couch next to her to watch a show or something. And have you ever had restless leg syndrome?
No. What is that?
Oh, you haven't? Okay. Well, the listeners who've had it will know what I mean. It's this really irritating feeling of restlessness in your legs to where you're squirming around and moving your legs, and you flex them, you stretch them, you're trying to get this tension out. It's kind of like being really sore, but a bit different. So I'm sitting on the couch with horrible restless leg syndrome, which I had had a few times in my life, but never this bad. And I can't sit still. And my wife is like, babe, are you all right? What's going on? I'm like, I don't know. I just have restless leg syndrome. It's crazy. So I go to bed hour later or so, and I'm laying face down because laying on my back for some reason made the restless leg syndrome way worse. So I'm laying on my stomach and I'm kind of still moving around in bed, uncomfortable. And I did that for an hour probably, and just was trying to breathe through it. It was super intense. And I eventually started to drift off to sleep from exhaustion. And then I woke up to feeling like someone connected a fire hose to my lower spine and just started blasting water up my spine. It was like this, waking up out of nowhere. And it was just surging up my spine with a current of energy I can't describe. And I literally saw in my vision, and this was the craziest part to me, was that I saw the actual goddess Shakti, who is, she looks blue in the Indian depiction with 6 arms and all the adornments and jewelry. I literally saw her exactly like that, appearing before me with like blazing fire behind her eyes and like dancing before me like this. And I was just marveling at her because I've probably only seen a picture of the goddess Shakti a couple of times in my life. Before that, it's not like I had a figurine of her on my meditation altar or something.
Yeah.
I hadn't spent a lot of time with that image, but it was like right there. And I don't believe that that's how she actually looks. I don't think she has a form, but I'm fascinated by the fact that she appeared to me in her traditional Indian form.
Yeah.
And there was a communication that happened, but I was essentially locked in this position, you know, like spine arched, laying on my stomach with the sound of like a jet engine airplane in my ears as well. And there was this amazing interface of communication that happened between her and I, just kind of telepathically. And it probably lasted, 5 minutes or something. And then the feeling subsided, and classically, as almost every interconjunction happens, I became as cold as a corpse in my body. I started shivering and covering up in the blanket, going through that process, because in doing that ascension through the spine, she's like burning up the prana in your body.
Yeah.
So you're left feeling like a dead body or something, like a shell. And it takes a while for the warmth to come back into your body, which is pretty wild. So that was my experience of the interconjunction.
And your wife was right next to you the whole time?
Yep.
What was her, like, what does she do? Like, maybe we might have that experience with a partner that goes through that in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
What is there a protocol? You just leave them, do your thing. You're good.
Yeah. She slept soundly, man. She didn't wake up.
Huh.
I don't think I was moving that much, and I definitely wasn't making much noise. I was really like paralyzed.
Yeah.
And I went into a very like altered state. I didn't feel like I was in my body. I could feel the sensation of the body convulsing and stuff, but it felt like 100 miles away or something. And I was in this kind of astral doorway with Shakti there, just dancing for me and speaking to me.
Wow.
So I told her the next morning what had happened, but yeah, she didn't wake up for that experience.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful, man. Thank you so much from the heart for sharing that. I hope it happens again. Maybe tonight, get some pasta in.
You could always try. Cookies and pasta. Who's going to complain, right?
If that's one takeaway, order out tonight, have some carbs in you, some sugar.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching today's video. I hope that you were truly blessed by it. And I wanted to let you know that I'm really excited to now be partnering with an amazing conscious supplement company called ORGANIFI. A lot of you know that I'm also passionate about holistic health and nutrition, and ORGANIFI has been a staple in my daily health routine for a very long time. They make the most delicious, organic, and high-quality superfood products that I've ever come across. And as you know, a healthy body is a great benefit for spiritual growth, because the health of your body directly translates to the health of your mind. Everything is connected. So feeding your body with high vibrational superfoods straight from the earth is one of the best ways to create that environment for a healthy mind. But getting all the superfoods that your body needs in one day can admittedly be a little bit tough. And that is where ORGANIFI can add a ton of value to your life. I personally start every day off with green, which is ORGANIFI's really delicious blend of 11 superfoods like ashwagandha, chlorella, and moringa. And then in the middle of the day, I'll usually have a scoop of red, which is a delicious energy blend full of 13 adaptogens and antioxidants from berries to recharge your mind and body with a delicious blend of organic superfoods. Your body is an amazing organic machine, but it needs the right fuel and signals to function at its best. And red is full of adaptogens sourced from organic herbs and medicinal mushrooms. And these are compounds that balance hormones, prime your energy pathways, and alleviate stress. So instead of crushing your adrenal system with huge doses of caffeine every day, adaptogens work with your body and give you natural, sustained energy all throughout the day. What's most important to me though about ORGANIFI is the way that they go above and beyond to ensure the cleanest and purest ingredients in all of their products. They are USDA certified organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, certified glyphosate-free, and absolutely zero fillers. So I never go anywhere without ORGANIFI, and I never miss a day without taking it. And ORGANIFI is offering a super generous discount of 20% off of your entire order when you use the coupon code Abke at checkout. So if you want to upgrade your health regimen with ORGANIFI, you can click on the link in the description box below to learn more about all the amazing products that they offer. And I promise you that your mind and your body are going to thank you for it.